I think somebody has to say it, so why not me? I think home buyers have given up. Now, what have they given up on? I think they've given up on hoping rates fall. I think we've seen in the last several weeks post-election that mortgage applications are up. This last week, mortgage applications to purchase, this is the end of November, folks, are up 6%. We are starting to see more and more real estate brokers talk about open houses being more active. So I wanted to have a conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy who is in the business, talk about what is going on post-election, but most importantly, talk about home buyers giving up on waiting for rates to fall. Matt, what say you?
Yeah, multiple angles to look at this from. And, I'm an eternal optimist. Sometimes, people laugh at how optimistic I can be in different times. But, are they giving up or are they smartening up? I always have this, unwavering hope in humanity. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe the increase in mortgage demand is that home buyers are getting smarter. Information is traveling faster. I've had more people come to me with, hey, Matt, I know I'm going to buy something in the next 3 to 6 months. I've heard, I've talked to, I've seen, whatever the verbiage is, that December might be a great time to look at buying. And I'm not saying it, because it's a sales tactic, and I'm not saying it as a marketing ploy. You talk to enough investors, they get their very best deals at the end of the year when, a seller who's on right now, and this is the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. If you look at a listing that's been on 40, 50, 60 days, I can tell you with absolute certainty the seller has motive. Because you know what the seller that doesn't have motive does? Last week, I saw it too. They come off the market, and their agent and them have an agreement. Let's come back on the first week of January. If you're on the market right now as a seller, you've got motive to buy. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're not on for fun to test the market, to see what's going on. You're like, please send me an offer before Christmas so I can close this out and be done with it in 24. And so I've got that one example where started in the mid 700s in contract at 615 with 15,000 in credit. I've got another buyer who, when I talk to the agent, this is an example that just because it's luxury doesn't mean it only happens in luxury, but they started at 2.2, Mike. This neighborhood, everything trades above 2 million, between 2 and 2.5. They're at 1.6. And we're going to come with something that's borderline disrespectful. If this client gets this thing anywhere near 1.5, where everything trades between 2 and 2.5 million, funky layout. There's a reason why it hasn't sold, but with a little bit of remodel and different time of year, different market, like everything in this neighborhood trades for between 2.5 million. It's going to be a smoking deal, and this deal wouldn't come together in a Q2, Q3 market.
No, it would not. No, this is again, I don't have any skin in the game, right? We often joke that you're a team buyer, right? You're in the game, you get paid when stuff closes. Dude, I'm just a guy that talks on the internet. I'm a guy that has its own portfolio. I think I counted one time, nearly 80% of my deals are from Halloween to Christmas Eve. I like to buy when there's no competition. This is the time, right? The Thanksgiving weekend, I put out several videos saying this is the best weekend to write disrespectful offers. It's still true. All what you're saying is true. If you are interested in buying a home, you want to do it with less competition. You want to do it when you can write disrespectful offers. You want to do it when you can follow up a couple of times. This is what is going on. And again, I am so encouraged that it feels like people are getting it. The key to being a great investor, and I think this is true for all investing, is really being a contrarian. One of the things that I have learned over my 30 years of investing is to be careful when everybody's going the same direction. I did that in 2006. I sold all my houses. I did that, when people thought it was tough to buy, I went all in, right? You could look at my 25 years of investing, and I almost never did what everybody did because it literally freaks me out. So I'm encouraged, dude. You have no idea. I read the numbers from Mortgage Business Association today about purchase apps being as high today in December of all year. I'm like, I think home buyers are giving up. I think they've given up on the hope for smaller rates. And what does that really mean? Now, this is my hope. My hope is if you're writing offers today, is you're writing offers that you are comfortable with at today's rates. That might mean you look at a smaller size. That might mean you go down. That might mean you write a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen disrespectful offers hunting for that one motivated seller. I have told people for 6 months, if you are lucky enough to be shopping for a luxury property, which I define luxury as 2x your median home price, anything that's 2x wherever you are, I call luxury. You are very lucky because that part of the market is still ice cold. So write your disrespectful offers. I know somebody, Orange County, this neighborhood's like 57 homes. That's all they have here. Gated, nothing in there goes for less than $3 million. They're likely going to get it for just under 2. Now, this individual happens to have a big bank account and they're going to write a check and they're going to close in 10 days and all of those other things. I get it. But that's still a 33% off, a 35% off property because the seller has to close this year and this guy is in a position where he can write a check. It's happening, folks. Shop when no one else is shopping. Success leaves clues.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Success leaves clues. And rookie real estate investors, rookies in real estate, say, what's my rate? Pros say, what kind of deal can I get? And to your point, I think it's a great one. So I want people to make sure they heard it. If you underwrite a deal that makes sense today, it can only get better. You know what I did? Someone was asking me about a investment calculator. So I'm searching in my Dropbox and there's 7 bajillion files from 10 years of doing mortgage. I ran across a scenario I ran in 2019 and the fourplex at 6.5% because I had to use DSCR non-QM money in 2019 as I transitioned from W-2 to the broker side of mortgage. 9% cash on cash return, Mike. Here's the cool part is it was 9% cash on cash at 6.5% interest rate. So that was the deal. Like, if not, you pass on the deal. Happened to get it. And since then, that deal's been refinanced 3.25% interest rate. And the best part for me was I looked at it and I go, man, it was 9% cash on cash with 6.5% and $2,800 in rents between 4 units. Those 4 units now rent for $3,900. So 28 to 39 is probably a 35% increase in rents, and the rent and the mortgage got cut in half from an interest rate perspective. So the thing's probably in the 20s cash on cash. But sure. If it makes sense today.
Well, hold on. I'm just going to ask this. We don't pre-roll in this stuff. All this stuff is on the fly. So did you actually take any cash out when you did the refi or just rate and term?
I just did rate and term.
Yeah, because you wanted to really blow your mind? Because that's what, based on how you were saying that's what I thought you did. How much did you put down when you bought it?
That one was in the deal, 75 grand.
So let's call it 80 grand, round numbers. Just think about when you refied it, if you would have taken 80 grand. You take 80 grand out, your balance goes up, but your rate gets cut in half. I'm going to guess, now it'll be close. I'm going to guess your payment stayed nearly the same or went down slightly. That's how much of an impact half the rate would be. And then look at your cash on cash return.
Because then if you're in the deal zero, like people's like infinite returns, I'll give you a cool little story on that one. Bunch of different stuff. Wife and I were looking at, taking, equity, because that one's got a ton of equity now. I didn't do the cash out refinance when I refinanced in 2020, but I did something cool where we sold half of the equity in that property. So now I don't have any money in the deal. I've got net. I've taken money out of this deal. So there's tens of thousands in my bank account. I've got 50% of a 3.25% mortgage and 50% of the monthly cash flow. with none of my own money in the deal. And so in effect, it's kind of like a cash out refinance. Just sold.
Oh, no, it absolutely is. Yeah, you just did an equity reposition. But this is the key of real estate. And again, none of this is hard. There's two things. One, you've got to get in the game with the deal making sense day one. I do not bet on appreciation. I don't like alligators. Go back and read my first book if you want the story. But that said, time is your friend. It's time in the market, not timing the market. At some point, all real estate investors, even Dion the lazy landlord, if he wanted, could go extract all of his equity and still cash flow. And again, his purchases started a decade ago, and 8 years ago, and 6 years ago. So he's been in the game. Olivia and I have a very nice portfolio and zero of our own money in the deals. We have extracted all of it over the years.
And for anybody who's worked really hard and been sick to their stomach when they see the tax implications on their check, the best part, extracting equity, cash out refinance, non-taxable event, zero taxes on that. It's debt. Yeah, that's the part too that investors really, really love once they start playing the tax game and they realize like the best type of money in your bank account is money you didn't pay taxes on. Yeah.
Amen to that. So again, I'm really encouraged, but I am left thinking of something. So it seems like I'm even going to say many buyers have woken up. There's no other way to explain purchase apps being up in December, being the highest of the year. Just no other way to explain it than home buyers waking up or giving up on waiting. I wonder what happens in February, March, April. What's that going to look like?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially if rates remain relatively flat. There's so much activity that my metrics were thrown off. I was looking at metrics between credit pulls and pre-approvals.
Yeah, I bet.
And I had more pre-approvals than credit pulls. And I'm sitting in this small coaching group and they're like, how is that possible, Matt? And I go, you know what it is? No need to pull new credit if somebody who's been pre-approved 3 or 6 months ago is just, re-upping that pre-approval. And so you've got new apps coming in. You've got people that may have been sidelined for one reason or another that are back in the market. And so, that's the thing that for anybody who's hoping, praying, wishing for price reductions, there's so much demand that's just pent up. And
just think about it. So again, I'm assuming rates stay at 7%. Let's call it 6.8 to 7.2 for the year. Relatively tight band. Mm-hmm. If we stay in that range, the only thing that happens is more buyers, quote unquote, give up and they take a shot. They may be down select. They may go to smaller homes, whatnot. But you're not going to get any supply. The reason I think 2025 is going to be so slow is we're not going to have rates at a level where the move up buyer, the sell one, the buy one, they're still not going to be playing in the market. So it's going to be all one-sided transactions, right? It's the first-time buyer, it's the investor. So 2025 is going to be slow, but I do think, to your point, and if I was in your business, I would be marketing to that portfolio and just educating people on, let's write a deal that makes sense. Let's ask for seller credits. Let's do this. Let's do that, and let's follow up. This is just going to be the year. This is what 2025 is going to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, that when I look at it, and I'm doing stuff for people who are going to owner occupy and for investors, and so there's different mindsets and different buyers. As somebody who's buying a home you're going to live in, there's certain things you want, there's certain things you need. You might not find a smoking deal on a great house in a great neighborhood with great layout. If you're an investor and you're like, hey, this is 4 bedrooms, it's kind of wonky, like the layout and whatnot. Renters aren't as picky, right? And it's a main street, so this is not necessarily where, me and my family want to be. If the rent's $1,950 in a neighborhood where rent is $2,100, like people are going to sign up to rent that house, right? And so, the deals are going to be out there. It's just a matter of putting in the work and going out and finding them.
Yeah, again, if you want to get in the game, work with someone that's part of the One Rental at a Time family, somebody who runs monthly meetings in the school community, It is greatmortgagebroker.com, correct?
Yep. Fill out the form, greatmortgagebroker.com. We're in 48 states. We're here to help. Happy to get you pre-approved. And, you want to know your numbers as an investor or as a home buyer before you're out there shopping. I talked to somebody this week, and I get reminders like this, I feel like every single day. I'm trying to talk this person into having a feel for the numbers, even if they don't do a pre-approval. Let's just talk about it. And based on the information I got, this person will not qualify for anything above 200,000. And I said, I can send you the link. Maybe it's adding a co-bar. They go, no, I'm not ready for any of that stuff now. I'm getting a feel for what type of layouts I like and what neighborhoods. So they're taking agents out to look at $500,000 and $600,000 homes, nowhere close to qualifying. And if it's a hobby of yours and you enjoy doing it, like, more power to you. But you're not doing that real estate agent any favors, and really you're not doing yourself any favors looking at stuff you can't afford.
Agents. If you were showing $600,000 houses to $200,000 buyers, that's on you. Stop that. That's
if
what
you
are
like
doing?
Practice. Yeah. Have fun.
Again, folks, greatmortgagebroker.com. And again, if you are being pushed for a refi, it's not really happening a lot now, but if you are and you want to compare and see if it makes sense, I would always reach out to Matt. What is your email just in case?
Matt@mtmg.com. I'm in there every day. I'm trying to make sure that I don't miss anybody. So Matt@mtmg.com, or if you're like, let's put together an app and see some numbers, greatmortgagebroker.com.
Awesome, buddy. Take care.